Congresswoman, this is some more of what Chairman Comer had to say. Choosing to defend a comment about bitching is, in and of itself, a choice. Fact check, true. I said Democrats were bitching and wasting everyone's time because Democrats were bitching and wasting everyone's time. What was your takeaway from yesterday's exchange?
That he does not have the temperament or perhaps the competence to be able to lead this committee. It shouldn't be this hard for us to get answers. We should not have to drag people to hold pedophiles accountable. It was a simple exchange. That he blew up like that is one, because there's no accountability. And he doesn't expect any because there were no cameras and there were no witnesses outside of us. But two, he wouldn't talk that way to other people. He wouldn't talk that way. He wouldn't have blown up like that if he wasn't insecure about the questions that we were asking, if he wasn't insecure about people outside, putting pressure on them to do the right thing. And he knows that Pam Bondi is in contempt of our previous subpoena, and he's going to let her be in contempt of this one.
One follow-up on that, then I have a question about today's testimony. Have you heard from Congressman Comer today?
No.
Very interesting. Talk to us about today's testimony. This seems, Congresswoman, to be, and I know you weren't in the testimony today, but obviously it's my understanding that Democrats on the committee, you all have been in constant communication. What did you think you all were going to glean today? And then what is the next move here? Obviously, Pam Bondi is supposed to sit before the committee on April 24th. At this point, we don't know if she's coming, but what is next?
Yeah, at this point, these folks are going to do anything they possibly can to try to move this aside, try to get through this. Their hope is that this all goes away. So were we surprised that his lawyer, someone who is intimately connected to all of his enterprise, to his dealings, to his inner thoughts, to this case, that he would not know anything, that he would have no understanding or no knowledge of what's going on? Is that believable to the public? I think he knows it's not believable. We all know it's not believable to the public. But that is why we continue to put pressure on the Justice Department to give over all of the information that they have. So the next thing is we keep digging. We knew this investigation wasn't going to be easy. We know that these very well-connected people, we know they're not accustomed to accountability. So that's why we have subpoenas out for the banks, for bank records. That's why we have subpoenas out for other people in his network, in his web. And it's why we need the last 3 million pages from the Department of Justice so that we are able to see a full picture of everything that we have information on, so that these folks are not able to lie, to cover up anymore. And the Department of Justice should not be running cover for them either. So the next step for this is to get Pam Bondi here. But also, I introduced the impeachment resolution because she's already in contempt, because she's already weaponized the DOJ, because she's already used it to cover for President Trump and for his allies. She's already used it to go after his political enemies. And we have seen enough here. We need people in here who will do the work of the people and not the work of the president.
Congresswoman, so I want to just put a little pin when you were talking about those insecurities at the beginning of your answer. He's also showed some insecurity about being asked a tough question by a black woman who has authority to sit in the same room that he's in. Because I guarantee you, Congresswoman, I absolutely guarantee you that if one of your male colleagues had said that, those words would not have left his lips. He would not have framed his response that way. So let us all just be very clear that is about as close as he could get to saying what he was really thinking about you in that moment without actually having saying it. So we'll just let that rest for everybody to understand for what was going on in that case. I want to go to and I know you were not in the hearing with Indike today. But I do want to go to his opening statement because I want to get your thoughts on something that tags right into what you were just talking about. He said in his opening statement, had I known that he, Epstein, was abusing or trafficking women, I would have quit working for him at once and severed all ties with him. The truth is that I did not know what Mr. Epstein did after hours, behind closed doors, and in places where I was not present. I'd like to note for the record that Mr. Epstein was arrested for solicitation of minors and for prostitution in 2008. Mr. Endight started working for Epstein in 1995. So I find it a little bit hard to believe that in a 13-year span, given the tightness and closeness of those operations, that you had not a whisper. No one was gossiping on the side. All those individuals with highfalutin profiles and finely manicured nails coming onto the island, and no one knew anything. You tell me what you think, Congressman, about the cover-up.
That also is insulting. It is insulting. They are gaslighting us and the public. The deeper we get into this, the more clear it is that this was evident to very many people. We've heard people talk about the young, very young girls going in and out of his properties. We've heard tell of the men going into a private island. We have heard and we have seen reports from Palm Beach police. The DOJ files are millions of pages wide and long. The idea that his attorney knew nothing is incomprehensible, and he knows that. And they, again, what they are doing here is saying it does not matter what you, the public, think or what you want of us. It does not matter how obvious it is that we're lying. We will get away with this, and they have gotten away with it for this long. But what we have to do here is say that, no, we're not going to let up. We're not going to go for obvious falsehoods. We're not going to continue to pretend that what is clear to everybody in the world is not sitting there, right, that the emperor has no clothes on. This is a very similar issue with that, right? This idea that the American people will not believe what we see with our eyes, don't believe what we hear with our ears. He knew. He was his lawyer.
Congresswoman, to a point you made earlier about the fact that the chair felt he could speak this way to you because this was all happening behind closed doors earlier, Congressman Robert Garcia talked about the necessity of public hearings. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
We've long believed it's time for a public hearing. And in fact, because there's been no public hearing, we're actually organizing our own public hearing with survivors, with other folks in Epstein's orbit, with people from Palm Beach, from other areas of the country that have information about the case. So if the majority does not schedule public hearings around this investigation, us as oversight Democrats will certainly host those ourselves. And that's going to be happening in the weeks and months ahead.
Congresswoman, in the last 30 seconds we have, can you give us a sense of what those public hearings might look like? Who might testify in them?
Yeah. So we have been in close contact with the lawyers of so many of the survivors, some of the survivors themselves. They have told us that there is a willingness for them to come forth if they are called. We've talked to Comer about that, and he has created so many excuses for why he doesn't want to do that. So I imagine that for those who are willing, we would want to create that platform for them. But we also want to do it in a way that is official, that is safe for them, and that contributes to the public record, and not just a circus that they have been a part of for far too long against their will. We want them to have justice and we want clarity, but we don't want to add to their harm. So I imagine that those are some of the things and the avenues that we will have to look at in the future if Comer and the Republicans will continue to refuse to do anything around this.